I paid a ridiculously low amount of money for this gaming PC that not only looks baller, but it performs like an absolute champ. But let me explain. Hey, welcome to Zach's Tech Turf. So this gaming PC is definitely something special. I want to get right into the parts list, talk about how I paid next to nothing for this entire build, and then of course we'll get to all the benchmarks, all of that though after a quick word from today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by the new Corsair 4000 series cases, and they have something for everyone like you ballers, all the way down to some options for you budget ballers. These new 4000 series cases, aka the 4000D, 4000D Airflow, and 4000X RGB are all rocking versions in white or black, modern front I/O which is impressive for the price, an absolute ton of cooling potential that can fit 6 120mm or 4 140mm fans with multiple radiator options, and they all feature the rapid route cable management system to easily hide all of those cables. The highest end version 4000X RGB comes in at $119.99 and comes with 3 120mm SP RGB Elite fans plus an IQ Lightning node core. The 4000D at $79.99 comes with 2 120mm fans and rocking this super sleek design. And then of course my favorite, the 4000D Airflow is also $79.99, comes with 2 fans and just provides a ton of cooling potential at such a great price. Links to all of these cases are linked down in the description. Alright, so to kick things off with the parts list, we gotta start with the case, and this here is the brand new Antec DP502 Flux, the second case in their new Flux line that I've used now. And just as a quick disclaimer, they did sponsor this part of the build, but I'm sure glad that they did. This Flux platform is all about optimizing airflow with some top-notch heat dissipation, and that's certainly helped by the 5 pre-installed 120mm fans that it comes with. Now, when this case originally shipped, all 3 of the RGB fans were up at the front of the case and then everything else was black, but because this is a swinging door panel, somebody in my Twitch chat actually recommended to move the top RGB fan towards the back, that way you can see all the RGBs at once. And this was just such a big brain thinking move. If you're looking for more big brain moves and some entertainment on Tuesday and Thursday nights, you should join us over on twitch.tv/ZachsTechTurf. By the way, we would absolutely love to have you over there. Going back to this case, now that we have the RGB situation figured out, there's also a half swinging front panel like I just mentioned. There's an included ARGB controller that can connect up to 6 3-pin ARGB connectors. The case itself has support for up to 9 fans to maximize that airflow. There's 7 reusable PCIe slots, and most importantly, all this comes in at just $70. In my opinion, this is a ton of value for a pretty budget price of a case, so I'm actually really happy that they sponsored this part of the build, but let's dive into the rest of these parts. Next up, we have the CPU, and here's where I'll reveal part of why the build cost me so little to make. Our friendly neighborhood Discord and Twitch member ZCWorks actually graciously donated not just the CPU, but also the motherboard, RAM, and CPU cooler that we have here today. If you've been watching the Twitch streams, you'll already know that ZCWorks is a ridiculously gracious type of dude, and I'm so happy that he helped us out with this build. The CPU is the Xeon X5690, which is a 6-core and 12-threaded chip from back in 2011, and it actually has a decent 3.73 GHz boost frequency right out of the box. As much as I would love to tinker and overclock on this X58 platform like Brian from Tech Yes City, I'm actually recording all of this right before the upcoming Thanksgiving festivities, so I don't have a ton of time. So unfortunately, all the benchmarks that you're about to see are with all the settings at stock speeds. Speaking of the X58 platform though, we have the motherboard, and this is the Asus X58 P6T6, which was actually a huge workhorse back in its prime. This is a pretty beefy motherboard with 6 RAM slots for triple channel, support for 3-way SLI, although they are Gen 2 X16 slots. There's obviously no M.2 support or even USB 3.0 support because it's so old, but it actually has an impressive VRM design, which I wish I would have taken advantage of. Looping back to the RAM, ZCWorks was also kind enough to send over this 3x4GB Mushkin kit, which is honestly a perfect sweet spot for a build like this. Lots of people are complaining about 8GB of RAM these days, but with budget specs like this, you honestly don't need 16GB, so sitting right here at 12 is a good middle ground in my opinion. And finally, the last thing that he sent over was the CPU cooler, and this is no slouch either. This is the Arctic Freezer 7, which was definitely a good choice back in the day, and Arctic is actually still making this line of CPU coolers, as they have the now updated 7X version on Amazon for just $24. Once again, big thanks to ZCWorks for sending out all of these parts. We're now up to what, like 5 parts now that I didn't have to pay for, but everything from here on out I did have to pay for, so let's jump right into those. Today I'm dedicating all of my headshots to ZCWorks.
There's the first one.
Next up is the graphics card, and I'm kind of sitting back here cringing about to explain this. This is the mining RX 470 that I talked about in my video 2 weeks ago, and since hopefully most of you watched that video, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Basically, in a quick nutshell, I accidentally bought some mining RX 470s that only have one DVI out, which at the end of the day is fine for a one monitor setup, but obviously it's not ideal. I only paid $70 for these cards though, and for that kind of money, this actually is a ton of price to performance. Next up, we have the storage, and this here is just a random 2.5-inch SSD from Xeon that I had laying around. This certainly isn't the most optimized option here, but for less than 50 bucks, not even on a sale, you can buy this 480GB model pretty easily. And finally, the last part here is the power supply, and you guys already know the answer to this one probably. Once again, this was from EVGA stock, and it's the 450W3 model, which I only paid $30 for. It's rocking all black cables and provides just enough power, which is great for the super cheap price tag when they go on sale on Tuesday nights. All in all, here's what the final parts list is looking like. You can see that I personally paid less than $150 actually, but this obviously isn't repeatable, and I apologize now for the somewhat clickbaity title, although to be fair, it is true, it's just not repeatable. I can already smell those sweaty keyboard warriors firing away on the comment section right now about the title. I'm sorry, once again, this obviously isn't a $150 build guide, but hopefully I can make it up to you with some headshot and gameplay.
Now here's a quick headshot for you. But if you are trying to copy this build, I want to give you some alternative parts really quickly.
The first part up would be the CPU. Now this obviously only applies if you're sticking with the X58 platform, but you can certainly save a ton of money by going with something a little less like the Xeon X5680. Believe it or not, the X5690 is still being sold on eBay for around $80 to $90, and the X5680 can be had for $30 to $40, and that's half the price for getting just slightly lower clock speeds, but it's still 6 cores and 12 threads. Next up is the graphics card, and honestly, I would highly recommend not going with a mining RX 470. Even if you're planning on only using one monitor, you don't want to have to go through the process of selling it later on down the road like what I'm about to do and having to explain to the buyer that you can only have one monitor. Instead, I would opt for something like a gaming RX 470, maybe even a 480, or on the NVIDIA side, something like a GTX 970 or GTX 1060 would probably be great picks as well for a similar price. And finally, the third place I would consider upgrading is the SSD. This Xeon isn't anything special like I just said earlier, and I would recommend getting something with at least some DRAM. Something like the ADATA SU800 is usually around the same price point, and honestly the Samsung 860 EVOs have been dropping in price like crazy lately, and that's a really good 2.5-inch SSD for the price. With all the part stuff out of the way, it's finally time for the benchmarks and gameplay. As always, keep an eye on the upper left hand corner for the GPU, RAM, and CPU utilizations, as well as the temperatures. In the first game up, we have the brand new Call of Duty Cold War, and in 1080p with low settings, I got a very smooth 97 FPS average with a pretty high 1% low.
Where are the campers in Call of Duty today? He's dead. Don't slide in here like you own the place. Get out of here, man. There's got to be more campers, man. He's going up to camp. So one thing to report, other than that, dude, is that the GPU is absolutely pegged to 100%, as you can see. I'm in the middle of something here, guy. Yeah, so we are definitely... Look at this camper. We are definitely maxing out this RX 470, but that's fine for a game like this. That is absolutely no problem at all. This is still very smooth. Can't say that I'm a fan of this map, but I am owning on it. All right, how about one more kill? Oh, come back. Then we'll go to the next game. All right, we're done.
Following that was the also brand new Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and in case if you didn't get the memo yet, this one is incredibly demanding to run, and in 1080p with low settings using the built-in benchmarking tool, I got a somewhat choppy but certainly still playable 55 FPS average. Next up was everyone's favorite Fortnite. Hopefully you guys are okay that I didn't lead off with this game like I normally do, and in 1080p with pro settings, I got a solid 142 FPS average. Counter-Strike Global Offensive followed up after that, and in 1080p with pro settings, I got a smooth 175 FPS average, and once again, all of these headshots are dedicated to ZC Works for this video.
Time for some Counter-Strike, man. Let's get some kills. That wasn't a bot. Now, the rumor is that ZC Works is really good at Counter-Strike, but he probably doesn't want to 1v1 me. ZC, man, let me know if you want to 1v1 me like this guy. You're probably going to die like him too, though. Oh, the chicken wants to 1v1? Let's go. 1v1? Good try. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of feeling it. Why do I keep inspecting my gun? It's messing me up. Dude, I'm owning that guy, man. He's probably pissed. There's so many bots on this map. That was definitely an eSport Pro. I really only play eSport Pros. Watch, this guy's one. Watch this. Oh my god. Oh my god. Almost died. Got the dub though.
Next up was Rainbow Six Siege, and just like always, I used the built-in benchmarking tool, and in 1080p with high settings, I got a 168 frames per second average. The GPU demanding Borderlands 3 tailed after that, and using the benchmarking tool in 1080p low settings, I got an incredibly nice 69 FPS average. Nice. My personal favorite competitive shooter right now, Rogue Company, was up next, and in 1080p with low settings, I got a very smooth 138 FPS average. And finally, for the last gaming benchmark, we have the game that I'm almost a pro at, Valorant, of course, and in 1080p with medium settings, I got 124 FPS.
All right, it's time for some Valorant. I'm feeling a headshot early and often. Let's go, baby. Yes, I am fully aware that that's not a headshot, but that one was. Nope, he's behind me. Sit down. Oh my god, I missed once, I never missed twice. Told you. It's every time, man. I never miss twice. I guess you guys already know the drill. Like, it's pretty obvious I never miss twice. There's definitely some new people here that just... Oh, look, I'm telling you, new people here. I never miss twice, I'm telling you. Sometimes you just gotta keep the new people updated, man. Headshot. Oh, don't be mad at me, man. Be mad at ZC Works. This isn't my fault. I'm telling you, man. Blame him. I'm just the one doing the headshots. ZC supplies the PC. I supply the headshots, man. That's how we do it.
And then just like always, we're gonna end with a quick time spy run, and this PC that I personally only paid $150 for ended up with a respectable score of 3,679. All in all, I think it's pretty safe to say that I got my money's worth out of this one, but that of course wouldn't have been possible without the gracious ZC Works, so one more thank you to him. Be sure to let me know down in the comment section what you think about this build, anything that you would do to change it, and finally, I hope you enjoyed this video.